Thank you very much. Thank you, Pat. Well, it's great to see you. It was great to meet you in Ottawa, and I'm
Yeah,
very happy that we can reconnect again. And I found your story to be very compelling and powerful, and I think it's a good one for people to hear and for their own healing if it can be helpful.
for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, yes. And how have you been since I saw you?
Awesome. We had another great training weekend this past weekend. It's always great. I wish they happen closer together because I love my training weekends.
Sure.
But yeah, I've been doing great. Just kind of focused on keeping a steady practice. It's a little hard for me to do that, but
Okay.
working on it.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad to hear
Yeah,
that. Well, it's great to
yeah.
meet you. It was a wonderful group, a wonderful weekend, and
It
I,
was a
I
lot of
appreciate.
fun.
Yes, it was, and I appreciate you being so open about your story, your own healing journey, and it's what I really like to share with people, and especially oftentimes when it comes around diet and foods and how we're choosing our lifestyle. So if you would like to talk a little bit about your experience with tomatoes and your healing, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about this as well because I find that often when you talk about foods being healing, it could, I strongly believe that foods can heal you and they can also cause disease.
Mhm.
But often when you talk to people about foods being healing, they dismiss you. They don't believe it for the most part, anyway. And I often got that seeing my doctors telling them, I've made these changes with my diet, and they just dismiss you. Oh yeah, okay. I'm sure that didn't do anything. But anyway, of course, I felt it firsthand. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I was 40. And it started a bit slow in the beginning. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought maybe it was carpal tunnel. It started in my wrist. Um, then I one morning woke up with a lot of pain in my wrist, went to the doctor, and she thought maybe it was tendonitis. So antibiotics or anti-inflammatories to try to heal that. And the week later, after I was finished the antibiotics, I got the exact same thing happened to me on my other wrist. So of course we figured out, well, this is not tendonitis. So did a few um, blood tests, and turns out I had very low numbers for rheumatoid arthritis. Shortly after that, my whole body became inflamed. It was from my shoulders to my feet. Everything like hurt intensely to the point where I couldn't walk. I had trouble walking. Let's put it that way. I could walk because I forced myself to get up, but it was very, very painful. Um, and I didn't know what was going on. And anyway, it was going to take months to see a rheumatologist. And I just thought, I can't live like this with this much pain for months. I just can't do it. So I happened to come across a woman, a holistic nutritionist. She had just written a book about basically it's an elimination diet. It's about sometimes the foods that we think are healthy are not for us. We're all individuals, so we all react differently to different foods. And that kind of caught my attention because during that time I thought, oh, I'm eating oatmeal and oatmeal's good for me. Yet when I finish eating my oatmeal, I feel bloated almost instantly. So maybe that's what's going on. I think that it's healthy, but really it's not. So I started to read her book, and it was an elimination diet. So she used a lot of um, anti-inflammatory spices, turmeric and cumin and cinnamon. of course, all these spices that I really didn't have in my diet. I'm Italian heritage, and we don't use those spices. It's not typical. Besides the cinnamon in my apple pie, I didn't use it for cooking. That was for sure. So, so I started to follow this book, and we did a cleanse in the beginning. Of course, uh, she wanted us to. She set us up in a way that we could see through weighing ourselves in the morning whether a food was inflammatory.
Mm,
Um, and she set it up just so. So this is how much you need to drink. You can't drink this many hours before bed. You should take this supplement. Everything was kind of set up so that we would be able to weigh ourselves and go, oh wow, okay, we went up. Um, Maybe that wasn't good for our bodies. So just through that, all the foods that I typically ate in a day, I ate a ton of tomatoes all the time, whether it was tomato sauce or tomato salad. I love tomato salad. I would have tomato salad, especially in the summer, almost every day. Um, and for me, it was kidney beans were not good for me, and nightshades were not good. Typically, the peppers, the eggplant, they didn't work for me. I discovered that regular chicken did not work. And then I thought, well, let me try organic chicken. And I was okay with the organic chicken.
mm, mm,
And I was a whole other thing. It made me believe, wow, maybe there is something to this organic thing. And anyway, and slowly but surely, 4 days into it, I felt like a new person. I wasn't completely rid of pain, but I could walk. I got up that morning and I turned to my husband and said, "Oh my gosh, I I can walk. Like I'm not in a massive amount of pain." And it was through the first 4 days of cleanse. And
mm,
so, I mean, if that doesn't tell you something,
mhm.
I don't know what will.
Wow, that's amazing.
And yeah, yeah. So just through that, I eliminated the things that really didn't work for me, and I felt really fantastic. I
Mhm,
was on it for 4 years, and no bloating, and of course, then I also had to get medication to really, um, get rid of the pain. I'm lucky I don't really live with pain right now. They found the right medication, but food had a huge
mhm,
part in that, played a huge part in that for sure.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it's incredible. I'm very happy to hear about your healing and how much better you're doing. And so, what would you say were the key foods that were uh, activating the inflammation for you?
So tomatoes were huge. Um, Kidney beans, I could not do. Um, Peppers were not good. You know what? To be honest, in the beginning, it was a lot. I was like, I had gotten to a point where I thought, geez, is there anything that I could eat that's not going to cause? Because I think my body was so inflamed.
Mm,
And I don't know, I may have had leaky gut as well. I don't know if you guys know about leaky gut, but little holes develop in your gut when you have all that information. I can't give you the technical thing around it. From my understanding is little perforations happen, and so when you eat, they leak out of your gut, which causes more inflammation. So so yeah, for me it was the kidney beans, it was the tomatoes, it was bread. I already knew that I was lactose intolerant, so that I knew already. Bread was huge. Like gluten, I could not eat gluten, so say bye bye to the pasta and the pizza with the tomato sauce. Like all the things that I typically ate
yeah,
were not good.
yeah.
So
How about the oatmeal? Did you let that go as well?
yeah, I mean, I couldn't even do gluten-free oatmeal. It still makes me bloated.
Mm,
So I can't do that. And to be honest, there's a lot of gluten-free breads that I can't eat. They still make me bloated. So for the most part, I try to make sweet potato toast and use that rather than gluten-free bread, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
And how about other beans? Did you try other beans, black beans, mung beans?
Black beans were good. So white kidney beans were okay. It was the red kidney beans that affected me, but the
Interesting.
white was okay.
Hmm.
But she did also explain that sometimes when you eat the same foods all the time,
Hmm.
it could cause your body to develop a sensitivity to it.
True.
So she did also mention that. But I just got used to eating other things. I try to expand my the things that I eat and not eat the same things all the time.
Right.
But white beans are fine, kidney beans are fine, chickpeas are fine, black beans are fine. It really was just the red kidney beans.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. So how unique each of our bodies are with
Yeah.
different foods. And so I really appreciate that. What's the name of the person that you saw and you read?
So her name, the author is Lynn Janae Rositas. So Lynn, I believe it's Lyn. Janae is Genet, and Rositas Recitas. And her book is called The Plan. It's a
Plan. Okay.
yellow book. I think she has different versions now. She's got the metabolism plan, but the one that I used was the original yellow, just called The Plan.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds
Yeah.
like a great resource for you, and I'm sure it can be a resource for many people who are struggling. I think a lot of people are struggling unnecessarily, not knowing that what they're doing is coming right out of their refrigerator and out of their kitchen is really the cause for a lot of struggle and discomfort. And I think a lot of this information, knowledge can be really instructive for people and just a pretty simple way to shift a lot of that pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I used to say it all the time. It was sad that unless you're going through something that's really uncomfortable, you don't, it's almost too much trouble to try to change your
Mm,
diet, right?
mm,
Or maybe you don't think that it would be useful, but it really makes a big difference. And, maybe with me, I was able um, to really feel it. Maybe someone who doesn't have pain or might just feel like, oh, look, I'm not bloated today. But
yeah.
that's telling you something. That's telling you that the foods you're eating, like you should be aware of the foods you're eating, right?
Mhm.
That they are causing damage, even if you don't see it or don't feel it. Um, right off the bat, you have to be aware of what you put in your body. Take it from somebody who had experienced
Mhm.
pain, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you're a great example of healing through food choices, and I appreciate your passion and enthusiasm also with this. And I would think you would be a great resource for people who are struggling as well. With a lot of times, people don't know. They go in and out
Yeah,
of doctors' offices and hospitals or whatever, and there's no real diagnosis there's no real marker, let's say, to show
yeah,
okay, it's this or that. And then people, they're oftentimes guessing with different medications to use, which is going to create a whole nother um, challenge in the body. And
yeah,
so, yeah, I think that, yeah, I think some simple experimentation with elimination is a good place to start because, like you say, there a lot of what we do on a daily basis is creating where we are. And
hmm,
I would say pretty much everyone is eating something that's having an allergic or toxic reaction that's creating
yes,
inflammation. And so
yeah,
as we simplify and just begin to alter our food choices and bring in new things, we can begin to discover the cause of that pain.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to share my story whenever I hear of someone who's experiencing some kind of pain, or they know somebody who
Hmm.
is experienced. I'll share my story, and not everybody wants to listen, but I'll share it, and you do what you will with it.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, but it really did help me a lot, a ton. And I'll tell you something else. So when I did finally get to see my rheumatologist, it was just as you said. Yeah, you tried this medication and this medication and that medication. And for me, it was we kept adding on and we kept adding on and adding on and adding on. So at one point, I was taking 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 pills a day. I was taking 8 pills a day. Um, and still, the pain wasn't completely gone. But unfortunately, the way our medical system works is you have to try all these things before you can try this one drug that would probably help you. You need to go through the process of trying all the rest. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
Hmm.
Um, but I'll tell you one thing that I believe that I didn't experience any side effects from that medication because of the fact that I did change my diet. By the time, like I was saying, it took 2 months by the time I went to go see the rheumatologist. So I had my body, I think, in a good, it was a good start, like a good beginning. I had really calmed it down. And I believe that I didn't experience so many of the effects that the drug, like the oh my gosh, like the dry eyes, the dry mouth, this, that, the rashes. I didn't experience any of that. And I think it's because of the food.
Hmm.
Um, I do believe that. Anyway, now finally they found, well, years ago, they found a good drug for me, and I don't take all the rest, all the
Yeah.
rest of that stuff now. So it's just the one that I do. But anyway, yeah.
That I think that's an important message actually for people who do need medication for certain conditions, and we understand that the medication may be necessary for
Yeah.
certain people, and our food choices will impact how that medication works, and will oftentimes, if we're eating well, diminish side effects from those medications, which is important too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There were so many side effects.
Mhm.
Um, uh, so the reason why I say this is because I had a big change in my life. I moved cities, and I kind of fell off the wagon because I had other things going on, and I guess whatever, for whatever reason, I fell off the wagon, and suddenly I started to get all these side effects: the dry eyes, the dry mouth, um, the really terrible fatigue, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And then I realized, oh, that this is why, because I have stopped taking care of myself through my diet, and
Mhm.
this is why. And
Mhm.
so finally, then when I started again, I don't have the dry eyes and the dry mouth again. Because what does the dry eyes and dry mouth do? Well, that's more medication. Now you need drops for your eyes. And now, right? If you go to a Western doctor, that's what they do. That's what they give you is more medication, steroid for your eyes. Anyway, so then when I got back on it again, I don't suffer from the dry eyes and the dry mouth anymore.
Mhm. Wow.
So
Wow, that's so informative, I would say.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Pat. I really am very grateful for your story, for your time, and I'm very happy to hear that you're doing so well. You're so vibrant, and you're a great example of how one can transform themselves through food choices.
Well, thank you for letting me share my story.
Mhm.
And yeah, if anybody wanted to reach out, I'd be completely willing to chat with anyone.
Sure. Is there a good way for people to reach you?
Email's good. Sure.
Okay. And do you want to share that?
Yeah. So my email is CREA8874 at Rogers, ROGERS.com.
Okay. Great, Pat. Thank you very much. Very, very grateful for you. And I'm glad you're doing so well. I look forward to staying connected, and we'll meet again somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Peace to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.